Hello. So I'm doing a example screenshot for a friend of mine who has a trial version of the new Livecode with the iOS in it. So I'm going to show him something that he wanted to know how to do. He's very confused. I'm going to show him it's not very hard. And if you're joining in and you want to take a look at sort of what you can do, and this is like basically just setting it up so it works with the iPad. That's kind of what he wants to do. So I'm going to launch Remo, which is Jerry's little editor, Jerry Daniels. It's a great editor, you should get it. And so we launch Livecode. I'm going to do everything with not using any of my plugins. So I'm going to do it just how you would get it if you are running the trial version or if you're a Livecode user. I'm just going to make a new stack. And we're going to give it a dumb name. Something like test play. I've done a number of test plays, so I'll call this test play 12. And we'll save it. And see, you can see I already have a test play 10. So I'll save it in there. And the first thing you want to do if you want to go to iOS is go to the Standalone application settings. Oops, let's get our inspector off screen. And you can see here's our general information. Now Livecode comes up and it says, hey, you want to deploy to Mac, Windows, and Linux. No. So instead of being default and have nothing checked, you have to go and uncheck Mac, uncheck Windows, uncheck Linux. Then come over here to iOS and hit build for. Now mine might look a little different than yours because I have the full commercial build to anything that Livecode makes. Yeah, I know. And I also have the commercial build for the iOS, so it might be a little different than the personal, I don't know. So we're going to target iPad and 4.2. Currently, I'm going to have it so it does support everything, but currently I'm just going to do an initial of landscape. And all this is really doing, this is doing property list information. Translucent, and I might do a file sharing. So I'll do that for now. What you want to do is change this to your company name to your company, and the app name will be what's above here, test play 12. Obviously, it's a little test app. And because I'm going to be using my profile, because I'm going to show you how to put it on your device, I'm going to put my company name in there. I'm going to grab an icon. I'm just going to use an application icon from Icon Edens. You know, nothing spectacular, nothing you'd really use for an application icon, but something just to show you that it's not that hard to do. I don't know, what shall we pick here? Let's take the chair. Wow, office chair. I'm not going to worry about the splash screen, and I'm going to take a profile of our mobile test. That one there has a wildcard character, so I can use this for anything. It's a general tester. Okay, we're all good. The other thing you'll be looking at is copying your resource folders and files in the copy folder area as you move along. And then I'm going to set this up here. So my test, the desktop here, my demo deploy, build, make an R folder. Oh, actually, yeah, test builds. Let's call them test builds. Now I'll choose that, and then I'll automatically build here, and we're done. I'm going to save that again. And now you can see up here, the simulate button is ready. But we're deploying to iPad. You'll notice if you just hit the simulate button, it's going to launch the iPhone, and I'll show you. So you can see it's going to launch that because we didn't set something else. And sure enough, there goes your iPhone 4. It did go into landscape. Now, you could change this in the simulator by changing your device right here. But the easiest way to do it is go back into Livecode, go to where it says Development, Simulator Version, and go to iPad. Every time you quit Livecode and restart it, it's always going to go back default to iPhone. It's not going to go to iPad. So you know that. So now we click this again, and now it's going to launch the simulator for the iPad, and it's going to put in that orientation. Now when you're in the simulator, you know how small this is. You can actually scale this window to 100%. And it's got these scroll bars, so if you're on a laptop and it doesn't fit, and it may not, you can see the background is gray. It's not even this white background we have here. It's because it's that motif setting. You can actually just change this really easily to make it that white background. So we have the stack. Go to our colors and patterns. Hit what's called background color. I'm going to select white. It's already white. I'm just going to hit OK. I can see it's white in there. Now, if I hit save again and simulate, the motif background is gone, and we do have that white background. You can change it any color you like. I mean, you could use red. Here's that goofy red window thing again. You know, maybe you're doing some stupid game or something. You want to go red. I don't know. But see, so you can see now. You can change that to any color you want. Let's just go back to that white for now. And let's get rid of that red. So that's very simple. So there you go. That's how simple that is. Now you want to change, obviously, the size and position. So there's a size and position. The minimum size for the iPad is 768 by 768. Because we are going to, because in the iPad, what Apple prefers you to do is support all orientations. Unless you're really doing a game per se, they want you to support, landscape, portrait upside down, landscape left, landscape right, yeah, everything. So to do the geometry right, we set the minimum width and height to the minimum size, 768 by 768. And maximum size by 1024 by 1024. Now obviously, if you're going to show this status bar that you see here on the simulator, you're going to lose a couple pixels at the bottom. So always know that when you're at the bottom, and let me show you when you do go on to seeing this live resizing. If I push all the way up on my mouse, you can see that this would be the max size for the horizontal or the landscape. And then the max size for the vertical, well, it doesn't actually even fit. And I got a 27-inch monitor here. It doesn't actually fit. And let's get rid of these. So you can see that I'm all the way up and down. Go back to stack size. It's off. So if I want to go 1024, it kind of goes under the menu bar here. Now you could be on a laptop and have a smaller screen than this resolution I'm holding here on this 27-inch. So a thing that you can do if you're trying to do like a layout where you're putting items here and you're putting items down here and whatnot, is you can take this location thing, and this bottom location will do the vertical axis. So see how you can do this? So if you need to get to the bottom of your screen, you can have it so it goes under that menu bar, and you can get down there and do that. And then if you need to move it again, like to go back up, you can do this. So yeah, it doesn't necessarily, your window may not necessarily fit on your monitor. That's a way to go in there and do that. I've actually built a little plugin that makes it a little bit easier. Instead of using this, it uses scroll bars and uses visual graphics, but you can just use the size and position, and you can move the stack that way. But I told you I wasn't going to use any plugins for this demo, so I'm showing you a way to do it without using plugins. So 1024 by 768 will give me a start for doing in landscape. Okay. So that's very basic right there. That shows you very basically how the thing's going to work. Now, I have steam heat going on, so you're going to hear this little noise in the background. It's going to start clunking. I'm sorry about that. It is very cold where I'm at. It's about 6 degrees outside, a little wind chill too. So that's going to go off occasionally. I'm going to show you something really simple, like you could jazz this up a little bit more. by using some of the sort of vector graphics built in Revolution Livecode here. So you get this, you get these crosshairs, and you can drag this out. And you'll notice, like, you still get this pointer tool. You have to re-click here to get the pointer. I'm going to set the opacity of this and drag it around and go to the line size. You can do stuff with the where are we here? With the gradient tool and make your own gradient type backgrounds or buttons or whatever you want to do. But I'm going to actually show you something to do that sort of comes from people who do websites. So if you're a web designer or a web programmer or a CSS artist, you'll know what I'm talking about here. So we're going to take that trick of doing a background for a web page, of taking a very small resource file that's almost like you know, really tiny, and you want to put it on your back of your background for your website, and you want to pattern fill it. We're going to take that same idea and use it here with Livecode. And I figured that this would be something good to show because the friend of mine, he's a web designer. He comes from the world of HTML and CSS and JavaScript, that he would understand this. So I have some assets here, very simple assets, nothing spectacular. I'm going to go to desktop into my assets folder, and I have this strip. Oh, that's a background strip. I have a strip here. I call it the action bar. You can see that it's a 2 pixel by 49 pixel image, much like you would do in a web page, only 4 kilobytes, and it's a ping image. So I'm going to import that in here for now, and I'm going to do a simple lock for now. Oh, here comes the heat. Now it's going to be a little noisy. I'm sorry. It's freezing here. Okay, so this has come up on screen, and here is our graphic. And what I'm going to do is go to the colors and patterns. And instead of doing the background fill like I did before, I'm going to do the pattern fill. See, background pattern. If you click on that, you get this image library of some, you know, old images. If you go to the stack, it brings up the images that are associated with the stack. Now we're going to have to take this image later and add it to our standalone settings where it said copy resource files. We're going to have to do that, so we put it in our package bundle or application bundle. But for now, I'm going to show you this way. I'm going to select that, and there you go. It pattern fills it. And obviously, if you go down, it pattern fills it that way. We want to get it very close up here. Now, it's hard to see, right? Well, if you have joined, you know, the developer program for iOS, you get Xcode. One of the tools in Xcode is Pixie. Pixie is your best friend when you need to do things like getting this to be perfect. So Pixie is sort of an OpenGL, a representation of the screen. And you can change Pixie to different magnifications. I think this magnification we got is pretty good. And it follows the pointer, so wherever your pointer is, so you can see as I'm trying to drag this image, there we go. Looks pretty good. See, so it looks great. And so I'm just going to place that, I'm going to start using my arrow keys here. I'm going to place that at the top of the stack. Okay? And what we can do now is get rid of Pixie. Pixie's done its job. Pixie's wonderful, isn't it? Now we got this image here. What we can do is just hide that. So we turn this visible. We turn that off. Now we know that this is our maximum resolution here, our maximum width. We'll just drag that all the way to here. Now if it's on the desktop, I normally would do lock, but I've noticed lock doesn't work too good with the mobile devices, so I'm not going to do it here. And because we are supporting a number of different geometries, I am going to set the geometry on here. Now I either set the geometry by script or use this little palette. And for this particular type of operation, this will be very simple. All we want to do is scale this to the window size. So I'm just going to go, boom. And now it will scale. And I think I did live resizing if we didn't have it, right? So you can see that this works. Oops. It is, okay. So I'm going to just turn this on, and you can see that this will resize perfectly. Okay, so let's save that. And oh, that's right. I got rid of my icon bars here. I usually use this for my toolbar, but I'm gonna show the whole thing because my buddy's new at it. He's new at the Livecode thing. And let's look at our simulator. And there you go. So you get a bar. It's very similar to his website background of doing assets at that type of thing. So you can do that same thing in Livecode. And maybe instead of using a white background, maybe we don't want to use a white background. Again, I had our asset here of on our image file of sort of this thing that you see some of the iOS type stuff have. You don't really see it with the iPad. The iPad's usually a little bit more fancier, has really cool looking graphics. This is more of an iPhone type background. But for the heck of it, I'm just going to show what you can also do here. Now the simulator does not show pattern fills on the cards or anything. It only seems to show it on the vector graphic stuff. So, oops. Where are we? I'm going to go invisible here. Okay. So what I want to do again is bring up another one of these. I'm going to go opaque on it. I'm going to get rid of the lines. Did I name this other one? Oh crap. See what happens? What you got to do here is you got to not forget, once you put one of these in here, is you got to redo the pointer. Yeah, it's a little buggy. No, I didn't. So I also like to name these. GRC for graphics, and I'm just going to call it T-bar. So it has a name. And go back to the pattern fill here. Pick that, and there we go. So what we do is just make sure that this stack is at the full max res. We're going to grab this and we're going to drag it. Now we can't forget we have to add these things before we make our final build to the bundle. Otherwise these things won't really load. I will lock this one because I don't know. I probably shouldn't, because I will have to reset the geometry. But for now, I'm going to do that. And see down here we have our layering. I can send this all the way to back. So that does that. And let's just take a quick look in the simulator, see what it looks like. And there you go. It's pretty cheesy. It's actually off too. You can see some white there. I don't like that. Yeah. Actually, what we can do is we can just make it so that it's the size. Okay. Usually I don't lock. Lock doesn't seem to work in the mobile as good as the desktop. So there you go. You got some, like, kind of stupid, but you can see how easy it is. It's not that hard to do some things like that. And I did it very web orientated, of bringing in very tiny web type graphics and pattern filling them, sort of like you would do in CSS, with HTML web paging. So very similar. You can do very similar stuff, and this way you can use very small resources. You don't have to do a huge picture file, because that will be on these devices. You don't have a lot of memory, So you want to think just like you would think in the internet's side of things. So that's 8K worth of resources right there. Now it might take up a little time to I'm getting my iPad and I'm plugging it into the machine, because I will show you how to deploy this to the actual device. Okay, so I do have it plugged in, and it did turn on, and let me see what we got going here. I do have a case on it, so it takes me a little rigmarole of moving it around. Okay, oops. Okay, I did lose my mouse pad area. Okay, so we got that. Now, I could add something like a basic button, and if you look at these stupid buttons, you're going to see what happens. You don't want to really use these revolution type buttons, because again, it's going to be very motif. You could use them if you go transparent with them or opaque with them. But let's go in the simulator, and you're going to see it's going to look, and it's not going to look good. It's going to look cheesy. Look at them buttons. Those are horrible, aren't they? Aren't those just horrible? Looks very like old like Windows 1.0 or like the classic Macintosh. Very bad. So I wouldn't use those buttons unless, I mean, you could do, and let me just show you what you could do, though I usually don't even use the buttons. You could go and set some properties of the button. You could go in here and set it to just opaque, and set the color maybe to white. I'm just going to say white for now. Okay, and what else you would do is go into icons and borders here, turn off the 3D, turn off the highlight border, go to 0, go to 0. Okay? You could still use your name or your label, call it okay, something like that. Now this wouldn't be too bad if we go and simulate with that. So it's going to save it. It's not too bad. It's small, obviously, but you can see how you could change it. Now you notice the text is off. First of all, the iPhone uses Helvetica. Now we're still getting that stupid highlight thing. So what you want to do to get rid of that is get rid of these highlights. Okay. And another thing is the default text font is, I believe, Georgia or something like that. I can't remember exactly. I think it's something like that. Or Javenia is the default for Revolution. Now you notice now the text is way off on this. And you'll notice that it's going to be way off. And I'll show you. You can do some stuff with line sizing. It's not too bad. So it looks way off on here. It looks like it's actually up, but it comes back and looks pretty good in the simulator. But you got to double check on the device to make sure it's right. So you're not getting really any button effects. You can do some button effects if you start doing the oops, better select it. If you're doing your icons here, and you could change, so you can put an image in a button graphic. But if you're going to do that, usually what you want to do here is then change this to transparent. You can even hide the name. And so just to show you an idea, I'm going to bring a stupid icon file of some kind in here. So let's go, let's spread the love. I'm going to go to icon drawer. I like icon drawer. These are really old bitmap ones. I don't even have the vector ones on this computer. I just moved to this machine, so let's use this help file. So let's find that button. Okay, there it is. If we go into these icons, we can select that, and we can then go to size and position. Just go bink, bink, and it gets me into that size. And we can, for now, I'm just going to put that down here. But you can see that that's a button, and it shows, icons and stuff. And you can do that. You can bring your reference stuff into a button and stuff. So, and you want to see it, simulate, whatever, we can do that. And so there you go. And you can do button like, your hover stuff, you got hover icon, disabled icon, visit. So you can change your images based on that, and it's very similar to doing stuff for the web. I'm just going to get rid of that. I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm just hitting the delete button. You can also make a button. You can make buttons in an image editor. I noticed there's a guy named Bernard that has a really neat little tool for Livecode that you can download and make some buttons. It's kind of neat. I think I downloaded it. You should check it out, though. He's got it on the forum, all that type of stuff. It's a really neat little tool. You can use button making tools. You can make your own image type things in Pixelmator if you got it, the GIMP, Photoshop. But you can also do some things with these graphics things. Oops. I hate when this happens. If you did that and you lost it, I'm going to show you here. I can use Jerry's thing, but if you lose it, here's your round rect. You need to move it now. Make your settings. Add the opacity and I can move it. So application browser, which actually is a lot better if you use a Remo. You can select all this stuff here, and you can actually move it within here too. It's kind of neat. There's a little plug. It's like $40. It's a great editor. So yeah, you can do some round rec stuff. Now here, this is interesting. You see this rectangle? It looks pretty cool. It's got some good round things. This will be almost a round button if I go into the simulator with a 15 radius. Look at that. Look how different that is, huh? That doesn't look right at all. So, go in here. I'd change it to about 9. That radius will change to... Yeah, it looks a little bit better now. I mean, it still doesn't look 100% like from here to here, but it looks better, right? So, what I want to do maybe is change the border of that to like a darker gray. Maybe that. Maybe even this. That looks blue actually. Let's go to that. And so now you get that. And the target size should be at least a 44 by 44. Should be at least, based on the design guidelines for the iPad. Now obviously this doesn't look like it should work with that. You know, really we don't really even need this graphic here if we're gonna use this little button thing. And I'm just showing you this as sort of an example of something you could do really fast that still looks pretty good. You know, we could do maybe a label. If you double click on anything in the toolbar, it'll put it in dead center of the screen. You can just grab a label. You know, you really want to do is spend some time and play around with stuff. Maybe, you know, put some graphic effects in there. Maybe even go in there and do some stuff with the gradient tool. Do a text formatting. Let's go. Bing. Let's try to find Helvetica again. Come on. You know, so I'm just showing you some basic things you can do if you don't really have a lot of cash. You just bought Livecode. Maybe you have the GIMP. You can use the GIMP. It's really cheap. Let's do something like 14. And what we want to do is when you want to use fill in a label field, you want to go into contents and do something like click here. Oops, and that's not even... You know, you wouldn't do that, but you know. And so we'll do lock, and that's already locked. But you can see that if you're going to use this as a button, what you'd want to do is group that, lock the group, go to basic properties. Come on. I like to take the select group controls off. Group. Button demo, you know, it's not a button that I would use right now, but you could get in the ballpark with this. You could even pattern fill in their background with a gradient if you wanted to. You can do gradients by script. So there you go. So we got, and you could script this. You could do an edit script on that. And let's do something really fast. So on touch start. PID, okay, on, oops, TouchEnd, PID, oops, and there we go, okay, on touch, RELEASE, known for not spelling stuff correctly. Okay, so I always just use the touch syntax. You could use the on mouse up stuff, but why? There's no mouse on the iPad. Okay, so I'm going to go to the TouchEnd, and let's just do something simple like import an image or something, right? So let's do iPhone. I think this is it. Right. I spelled that wrong. iPhone pick photo. I believe that's it. Let me see. Do I have? I do. I have my OS release notes here. Okay. iPhone pick photo. Hey, that's right. Except for I didn't capitalize the iPhone part. Oops. Okay. iPhone pick photo. And then my source, I think, would be a library. And then I'm going to do a max and a... So library, RALB. Let me see how that works. Yep, it is library. Library, R-A-R-Y. And then I'm going to do a max source and min source. So right now I'm just going to put 0 there. Just so I can compile. But how I'm going to figure out my max and min source is I'm going to put our graphic on screen. Just to make it opaque. I'm not really going to use this for graphic of any sort on screen. But more of I can put a picture here. Okay, so what I want to do is I want the size and position of this. Okay. Oops, where's my script editor? And so my max will be my width first, which would be 994 by 632. Okay. What I want to do is set the name of the template image, and you can see how this autocomplete here, that's part of the Remo editor. It's really nice too, and I'm just going to give it a goofy name like Hello World. And then I'm going to do is put the name of the last image into gCurrentImage. There goes my heat again. That thing just goes off all the time. I must have been on here for a while. Hopefully this is not long. I'm going to set a global. Okay. Now, if you look in these release notes, it tells you that you can get this source. The result returns a source. Well, I've noticed with ISO 4.2, the source is always canceled. If the user selects an image, it's canceled. If the user doesn't select the source, it's canceled. It's always canceled. The only thing it returns is canceled. So that's a bug. So instead, I use a global to tell me if there's an image there or not. Now, the other thing I want to do is I want to put the... Well, actually, I don't want to put the location of this because I'm just going to get the location of this. We can see the location is 513 by 437. I'm just going to do that for now. So I'm putting a little note here that this is for landscape. Set the location of image to 513 by 434, and that's going to center that in that area. Okay, so because we already gave it a name, we can call that, but that would only set that for the landscape. So we would have to redo that for portrait. Right now I'm just going to worry about the landscape because I'm just showing you an example. No big deal. No, I don't have to do anything right. You do. I don't. So that should work perfectly for what we need to do. Okay, so that's it. You don't need to do anything else. So we'll run this in the simulator. I'll show you real fast. Click here. Brings up our things. Ooh, look, we got a dog here. Select the dog. Boom. We have an image. It does kind of go off screen, so maybe you want to change that a little bit. Like change the script to maybe 630. and the height. No, try that again. No, Bing. Let's try this dog one. Oh, it's still off screen. Well, you need to play around with the factors a little bit. It's not too bad. But there you go. So we got that on screen as a picture file. Now I'm just going to show you real fast how would you build this out to your device. You know, so this is like a stupid little test, goofy little thing, nothing spectacular, nothing that you would deploy to the App Store, just something to learn with. Okay, so let's go back in here. Let's go back to your standalone settings. And let's go to copy files. Now, the copy files does bring up a couple errors. First thing, where it says like add folder, I've done this, where add folder, do not make a folder called resources. I've done this, it makes an error that will not digitally sign the your thing for the Xcode organizer. It won't go on the device. It's some kind of little bug. I've already sent it into the people over at RunRev, and hopefully they fix it. But if you make a folder called resources, you'll have a bug. So right now, don't make a resource folder. Instead, though, we will add a file, and there's another bug in here that you'll see, or I'm not sure if it's a bug per se, but where did I put that? Desktop, right? Assets. Okay. And I'm going to select this action bar, and see here. You'll get this here that it doesn't like this. Just ignore that. Just click it away. Add your other file. Boom. Okay, and again, click it away. It's just like a little thing. You don't need to worry about it. I've already let the people know that it happens, but you know. Okay, so now let's just oh, and let's make sure. I did have a, yeah, I do. Okay, great. Save as standalone. And we're going to save this one more time. It's signing the app, and boom, we got a successful app here. I believe it's in here, in here, in here, and here's test play 12. Now, we can't really screw around with the bundle, but I can show you package contents, show you that our assets are in here, and we're code signed. So we're ready to go. So let's take a look at this on the device. I have the device plugged in. All we need to do is launch Xcode. And let's move some of these Livecode stuff off the screen here. There's my device. Okay. So let's select that. Okay. Oops. Come on! Okay, so I'm just going to drag this into my applications area. So I'm going to take this test play 12, drag it in there. It should be working. And test play 12 is on my screen. Now you can't see my screen here because I don't have the video thing set up. I'm going to clear out the console. Now I have a screenshot from something else here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this, so we can start fresh. I'm going to launch it on screen, so you're going to see the console message pop up that it has launched. So test play 12 is on screen. And just to show you right now, without doing the screen capture, or not import image thing, I'm going to capture the screen so you can see what it looks like on the device. So that's the current screen. I'm going to go back to the console log, and I'm going to get my device here, and I'm going to click it, and it's going to bring up the picture stuff. I'm going to select the picture on screen, and I get a bunch of sort of stocky pictures that I got. I think it came somehow with one of my Macs, so I think they're Apple related ones, but I'm going to add one. Okay, and it's on the screen, so I'm going to go back to the screenshots, and hopefully I can capture that on screen. There you go. So there's the image on screen. So there, you see that it works. You see that we do have a console log of it debugging. So let's just drag these off onto the desktop, or to things running on our device. And really quickly, let's open those into preview. And there you go. So here's the first one of our device, and this is in preview. And here is the second one where it's pulled up the image. So, you know, obviously you wouldn't make an application that looks like this and deploy it to the App Store, but it shows you how you can do something very simple with Livecode without doing too much imaging, showing you sort of like that web developer background of using pattern fills and stuff like that. You notice that the click me thing, the text did go a little higher here than it did in the simulator. So, I mean, if you pull up the simulator, it's not much different. It looks about the same. It's about the same on this one. So, it's not bad. I mean, obviously, if you're going to do this black bar up here, you wouldn't put another button down there that looked like that. You would use one of those black bar icons. There's a guy named Bernard who's on the forums and the mailing list. I've seen that he made a neat little tool that can make buttons for the iPhone and iPad really simply. It's a really cool tool, Bernard. So check it out. Or you can, like I said, GIMP, Pixelmator, and there are some. And let me just show you. I think I have some resources here in my thing. My heat's going to go off again. It's going to make that clunky noise. I can hear it. I can tell you when it's going to do it. Like, I have tons of resources in here of stuff I've made using Pixelmator. But these are all pretty much for the desktop. All these different kind of... Well, I guess I have some here for the iPad. But I think this is one of them. I got this from a designer. Let me see where I saw that. Here we go. So you get some type of icons and stuff. I have the link to this on my Inky Binky site. You might have to go a few pages in. Just look for iPad, iPhone, iOS, or something like that. And you get sort of some things here that you can add images to, if you like, to do this stuff a little bit better. But watch the images. Make sure that the images, like if they're like Apple images and they don't do an Apple related action, you might get rejected for it. So I wouldn't even use anything that has an Apple related icon for something other than what Apple intended it for. So create your own buttons. Okay, so hopefully that gets you in the ballpark of knowing how to use Livecode a little bit with the iPad or the iPhone. Obviously, the iPhone is a little bit smaller, though you do have, don't forget you have Retina displays to work with. So this is to work with the iPad. It's very basic, you know, don't deploy anything like this. Okay, I hope you had fun. I'm going to turn this off. I don't know how long this is. Hopefully it's not very long. So, see you later. Bye-bye.